Hey, dethroners! Welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic YouTube channel. I'm Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist, empowerment coach, and CEO of the Dethroning Your Inner Critic coaching and consulting company. And today we are digging deep into the unconscious mind because your unconscious mind is the key to everything. All those things that are eluding you, that you think about, whether it's getting a dream job or improving and strengthening your relationships, or maybe you beat yourself up because you have these health goals and why can't I seem to stay on track with my goals? All of this points to your unconscious mind. The answers that you need are all there hidden in your unconscious mind. And I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to be happier and more present and to manifest the visions that you have for yourself. And that's why you're going to need to understand how to connect the dots between your unconscious mind and your automatic self-talk. That's my passion. That's what I want for you. I want you to understand how to change your inner narrative and change how you talk to yourself. Right now, most people try to tune out or ignore that inner voice, and that never works. Because your inner voice, your inner critic, is actually telling you something that you need to look at and understand and actually pay attention to. But you've spent your life running away from that voice. And that's really the key here. See, we have an automatic reflex that has us look away or numb or distract when, in fact, the key to all that you want your life to be is about getting curious about it, doing the deep work to turn towards it and ask yourself, what's it saying? And how is what it's saying true? How do I know that that's true? What evidence have I gathered over the course of my life that I'm using to prove that true? And when I believe that that's true, what are my automatic reactions, my emotions, my body sensations, my behaviors, my choices? How do I treat myself? How do I treat others when I believe what it's saying? What would be possible for me and for my life if I no longer believed that what my automatic mind was saying was the truth? So there's so much more going on inside of us than just that running dialogue of our inner critic voice that we've mistaken for facts for most of our lives. There's also the opinions and judgments that are in the background that we've learned from other people, that we've learned from our culture. And those judgments and opinions make a huge difference in how we respond to our life in the present, how we think about ourselves now, how we think about the world around us now. And I know that you would really like to get rid of your inner critic. You'd like to shut it down. You'd like to completely change your inner dialogue. But I'm going to tell you that that's never going to happen. And I know that a lot of you are maybe really afraid to look deep at what you think about yourself. What's running through your mind when you're sitting quietly? What conclusions that do you have about yourself and your life? What hasn't gone well in your past? But I assure you, if you're willing to really look at it, those are the things that have been impacting you very deeply. And if you're willing to do the work to get curious about it, your whole life moving forward can unfold very differently. Because like so many things in our life, if we don't pay attention, we're not going to exert any control over it. Okay. Now, I know you've had some really bad experiences. And how do I know that? Because you're a human being. And whatever those painful and bad experiences you've had, those experiences are actually incredibly powerful in determining your present and your future, because your brain is hardwired to pay more attention to the negative. And as frustrating as that is, it goes back to being a part of our survival instincts, to pay close attention to negative memories, especially when we're children. We have so many unconscious beliefs that we've been dragging around with us since childhood that are literally hidden inside of our minds. And it is those unconscious beliefs that become just a reflex in how you operate in your life now, that play such a huge role and have such a huge influence on your decisions and choices and the outcome of what you're striving for in your life. Okay. So if we are asleep to those unconscious hidden blocks, they're going to dictate everything. Okay. And I hear this a lot. I hear people saying, well, when I sit quietly and I examine what I really think, or I write it all down, I don't understand how that helps me. Right now, I'm just aware of the thought that I'm not good enough for things to work out the way that I want them to. Or now I'm just aware that I'm not good enough for this promotion or for starting this business, or I'm destined to be alone forever, or, I can't get a handle on consistently taking care of my body. There's so much resistance to looking inside, some kind of fear, right? Because most people think, well, I'm just going to open up this can of worms. Right? I'm going to revisit things that I've been trying to forget. And then I will just, be balled up in a fetal position and I'll just cry and I'll never be able to get out of it. Okay. Here's an interesting fact. Emotions inside of you take 90 seconds to go through you. 90 seconds. Your brain is hardwired to have emotions run through you if you really let them run through you for 90 seconds. Okay. So it's very natural and automatic and understandable to be resistant to look at things that you've been running away from for your whole life. Okay. This is our default. All right. And we become ashamed of things that we don't want to look at. Okay. We become afraid to face that because it's too painful. All right. But if we hide from it, it grows. All right. And you're so used to not just hearing your inner critic thoughts and beliefs, but believing that that's you, that you might not even believe that you could get to a point where you could think entirely differently, where you could literally have a rewired mind and a rewired self to navigate life with moving forward. All right. Now, if you don't believe that you could get to that point, you might be experiencing some learned helplessness. Okay. And that is the belief that in either one area of your life or many areas of your life, things just aren't going to go well. Or if they go well in one area, then they for sure won't go well in another area because, well, I just can't have it all. All right. Now, when negative things happen, especially in a sequence, right? Or maybe it's just one big event. Okay. Could be a bunch of small things. And maybe some of them you're not even aware of. All right. But those negative events change how we feel inside. All right. And then that creates sort of a running stream of negativity that makes us feel hopeless. It impacts our mood. It keeps us stuck in anger and frustration. And many, many people get stuck there for their whole lives. All right. And getting unstuck comes down to one thing. And that is understanding that the story you keep telling yourself actually becomes your reality. You have a story you're telling yourself, and it is now your reality, okay? Because your inner critic determines the actions you take in your life and the actions that you don't take in your life. And in the 30 years of what I've been doing for a living, okay, in as a psychotherapist and a coach, taking care of people, empowering people to live their most abundant and expansive lives, I've seen over and over and over again that what you are telling yourself in your mind determines your reality way more than any external factor, any experience, any circumstance. Okay. So if you want to write a book or start a business, or you want to go back to the gym and be in better shape or lose weight or get into a relationship or get out of a relationship, okay, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, okay, many people will say, well, it comes down to willpower. It comes down to determination. It comes down to, being diligent, setting a goal and carving out time for it and making that goal a priority. None of that is going to work if what is running over and over inside your head is, well, what if I don't have what it takes? And what if I can't succeed? Right? It's the same thing with relationships. The quality of your relationships is literally the quality of your life. And most people have no idea that their unconscious mind is getting triggered all the time by their relationships. And it applies to every relationship you have, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your partnerships, your business colleagues, your family, all of it. Okay. Because if you don't know how to regulate your own emotions, or you're not aware of how your unconscious mind has been getting triggered, all right? And it gets triggered repetitively, all right? You keep getting triggered into that story you're telling yourself. You're not aware of it. And it's going to bring every single interaction you have with any other human being into that story. Okay. It really does all start with you. That story filters how you see people in your life, particularly the people that bring you the most agitation. Okay. So without being aware of the tremendous impact of what's going on inside of us, right? And what we're carrying around inside of our unconscious mind that we're not even aware of, we really do have the opportunity to be living such a better life without so much fear and without being tethered to your past circumstances, your current circumstances, or your fear of your future circumstances. So I just wrapped up another Mastering Your Mind program 2 nights ago. And what always blows me away, every time I lead this program and every time, after the program ends, okay, when everybody is sharing how profoundly transformed they feel, it's not necessarily that any of their life circumstances have changed, okay? But yet they are completely different people than they were 6 months ago, okay? Because now they know exactly how to unhook themselves from their fear, their anger, their pain, their worry, their doubt. They know how to tune into a completely different experience of themselves, of the important people in their lives, of their career, a different experience of who they are and what's possible for them moving forward. And that's everything. That's the game changer, because they have everything inside of them. They have all the answers inside of them right now. They have access to everything they need for their life to be so much better moving forward. But if you're dragging around the weights of the past and your mind is dragging you back to that dead past or projecting you into that imagined future and all the possible dangers that could happen, this is a very deeply ingrained habit that can literally determine what happens next in your life, because we keep doing life the same way over and over and over and over again. That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you might leave a relationship and get into a new relationship with someone who's completely different than your ex, but inevitably the same issues are going to show up in an entirely different way, right? So, or you leave your job and you start a new job with a whole new company, and sooner or later, you're facing the same emotions or the same issues that you faced with the company that you left, okay? And this is where repetition makes such a difference, that if something doesn't go right, we keep trying and we keep trying and we keep trying, but we keep trying in the exact same way. And trying the same way over and over and over again does not produce different results. You get the same results. And when you get those same results, you're gathering more and more evidence to support the story you keep telling yourself that you really aren't good enough, or you really aren't capable of changing your life. Now, it's not that you need to go back and analyze your past and get stuck in your past. I don't believe in that. All right. It really is that you are unconsciously and automatically bringing your past right here into your present. And you are literally smearing your past all over your future, because you don't know the core pain that your inner critic keeps trying to protect you from. That's what all of this is. And once you see that, you open yourself up to a world of change, and you have the power to transform how your life unfolds. Carl Jung says it perfectly. He says, until you make your unconscious life conscious, it will rule your life and you'll call it fate. That's your inner critic self ruling your life. Now, why can we see this so clearly in other people? We can see the stories they keep telling themselves. We can see that they're mistaking those stories for facts. Why can't we see it in ourselves? The reason is because as human beings, we all share this fundamental need for connection and acceptance. Okay, that's deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. As social creatures, our survival has always depended on being a part of a group, okay? Whether that group was a family or a tribe or a community. So this need for belonging is not just psychological. It's actually wired into our biology, all right? So as human beings, we're all cut from the same cloth, in the sense that every human being carries this inherent drive to connect with others and to be accepted by other people. So from an early age, we begin to form our sense of self through our interactions with everyone around us. Our family members, our caregivers, our peers all play a significant role in shaping our understanding of who we are and how we fit into the world, right? So when we feel loved and accepted and valued, we develop a strong sense of self-worth. When we experience rejection or criticism or even neglect, it creates core wounds that shape our behavior and our perceptions for the rest of our lives. And even if you come from a family where you were loved and accepted and valued, every single one of us has experienced rejection, criticism, failure to some degree. So we all, every single one of us has a deep core wound that, if we're not aware of it, is shaping our present and shaping our future. Okay. So the core wound manifests as a fear of just not being enough, being in some way, maybe even not deserving of a life of true abundance. I was working with a client just a few days ago. She now has everything in her life that she's ever wanted. She's financially very independent. Her company was bought out. Her daughter's going off to college. Her marriage is stable. She's got everything she's ever wanted. And she is eating uncontrollably. She's gained 15 pounds in the last 4 months. Now, why is that, right? That's what she came to me. I don't understand that. And what's very interesting is when we really got to the bottom of it, her inner critic was making her believe and feel guilty, right? Feel guilty that she had this magnificent life and making her believe that she just needed something that was going to cause her stress. Why? Well, she spent her whole life in stress. In fact, she spent her earliest childhood in very deep overwhelm and stress and not knowing when the shoe was going to drop. So now it actually feels unconsciously too uncomfortable for her to have everything going right. It's almost like her inner critic needs to make sure that she has some kind of stress in her life. Okay. So this is how our unconscious mind sabotages our life, even when everything is going exactly the way that we want it to go. Okay. So this is how our unconscious mind keeps us protected, right? And I call our unconscious mind our inner critic. So your inner critic might have you running away from people, distancing yourself from situations or relationships that make you feel like in some way you're not good enough. Okay. So this might have you avoiding intimacy, avoiding vulnerability, right? It might have you staying small, not really able to get into those deeply intimate relationships, maybe with friends or with certain family members, or maybe even with your spouse that you really want. You may be numbing, right? Your inner critic can have you numbing to avoid the pain of your core wound, right? It could be that you're working excessively. It could be that you always need to be busy. It could be that you are eating too much. It could be that you're over exercising. It could be something worse, like drinking too much. Okay. Your inner critic may be having you overcompensate, right? Striving to prove your worth through your achievements, through perfectionism, through people pleasing. You may be such a high achiever and always seeking that external validation to fill the void that was created so long ago by this core wound. You might even be taking on being somebody else's caretaker and always putting other people's needs first because you need to make sure that you are always loved and accepted and no one ever is upset or disappointed with you. Okay. Now, these are all ways that your inner critic is trying to protect you from that core wound, but the underlying issue remains the same. Your core wound is getting in the way of your best life because you think that you won't be able to handle it if you fail, or if something happens that makes you feel not good enough, or if someone is upset with you or disappointed. And this fear drives so much of our behavior, right? This is why we automatically and unconsciously try to protect ourselves from it, right? But here's the thing. You are now a grown-ass adult. You have already proven yourself over and over and over again. Okay? These strategies that your inner critic keeps drumming up, they might offer some temporary relief. Okay? But they're not going to get you the life that you really want, the life that deep down is calling you. Okay. Now, we weren't born with this inner critic. So why do we keep carrying that inner critic around with us? Well, here's the thing, okay? Our brains are certainly far more powerful than any computer. But here's the thing about computers that are actually more effective than our brains, all right? Our computer can reboot if there's new information, if there's new software, okay? Your computer will integrate that new information and that new software, okay? Our brains don't. Our brains don't automatically tell us, hey, I am a competent adult. I've been able to support myself. I've been able to live a great life. I've actually had some pretty great accomplishments in my life. I'm an upstanding person in this world. And, maybe I'm not as bad as I keep telling myself. No, we don't do that, right? We keep telling ourselves the same story no matter how great our life is now and how much we've achieved and how much we've accomplished. And by the way, how many people say how fabulous we are and that they love us. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other. So that has always been so sad for me that here we are, we're these incredibly complex human beings, right? We've got so many amazing things that we're capable of. And it's so sad that when we were children and something happened, that can literally impact our nervous system for the rest of our lives, right? That it becomes our default, where we still believe that there's something wrong with us or that in some way we're not okay, right? Now, as children, this is when we were trying to understand how we're valued. We're trying to form all these connections. We're growing and learning about ourselves and the world at a rate that is, way faster than when we are even adolescents and adults, okay? So we're trying to understand all of this, but here's the thing. We don't have the benefit at that age of abstract thought. We don't have the benefit of life experiences, okay? There's a brain function involved in abstract thought that's very complicated, right? And life experience gives us a lot of information that we don't have as children, okay? Now we can combine our life experience and our capacity for abstract thought, but as children, we didn't do that. And that's when we were most trying to make sense of things around us without either of those capabilities, okay? So then the idea that we get as children is, wow, it must be me. It must be me. I'm the problem here. Because we don't know that the adults in our lives have their own issues. And that's what they're responding to, even the most horrible circumstances, right? Those adults are broken because of what's going on inside of them, not because of us. But we don't know that they're responding to what's inside of their head. So we believe, oh, they're responding to me. So we attribute it to ourselves. Okay. And that is why we keep repeating those same stories in our present and in our future, right? Because they became a permanent part of how we experience ourselves and how we experience the world, right? It's really that our inner critic is our survival mechanism gone awry, right? Rooted in our evolutionary history, but it's no longer working for us. So to break free from this cycle, we need to be doing one thing. And that is that we need to become curious about our inner life, our inner world. And I find it so remarkable that the answers to our problems are right there in front of us if we're only willing to look. Okay? It's like there's something wrong with your car, and instead of going and looking underneath the hood, you're polishing the hood, thinking, well, that's gonna get my car working again. It doesn't. Okay? And so it's that fear that keeps us from shining the light in our own minds and shining the light in the places that we really need to go. Okay? I want to say something about trauma. Trauma isn't a thing. Trauma doesn't have a mind of its own. Trauma is not plotting against us. Okay? Trauma happened. It's a memory. And so if you are willing to go back and look at the trauma and look at the stories that you created about the trauma, you have the possibility of disintegrating your fear, your shame, your stuckness. Now, most people say, well, I'll look anywhere, but I'm not going to look there. That's the exact place we need to be willing to look. Okay. You need to be willing to look at what you're dragging behind you. And if you don't go back and look at that, you are going to continue to feel like you're moving into a future as you wish it to be, but it's not happening. And you will continue to be baffled about, why can't I ever get my life to be the way that I want it to be? And that's because if you don't know the weight that you're dragging around with you now, well, it's going to keep repeating. Right? And here's the thing. That story, that voice will always show up now into forever when you're doing your most important work, when you're in your most intimate relationships. So we're not talking about getting rid of that voice. We're talking about having the transformational tools to recognize it as soon as it starts speaking, and to know that that voice is not you, that you are actually separate from that voice, right? Healing your core wounds is about deeply understanding it and then slowly dismantling the barriers that you've built around it. Okay? That's how you access your true authentic self. Okay? So your true authentic self needs an ally. Your true authentic self needs you in order to really start to govern your life, because the negative voices right now have an advantage. Okay? Again, it's from your human evolution. We have a bias towards the negative. So the negative will continue to get louder over time. It feeds itself. It fosters itself way more than any positive experience you could ever have. So your authentic self requires nurturing. So we need to be very attentive to nurturing our authentic self and the good things that are happening in our life every single day, right? And to get curious, so very, very curious about where your negative voice inside your mind really comes from. Now, that's what the mind method is all about. I created the Mastering Your Mind program because that is my passion. And I want you to imagine the transformative power of engaging in this deep introspective work with a small, intimate group of like-minded women, okay, where you are seen, you are heard, you are held, you are celebrated in a way that honors you, honors your unique journey. And in this sacred space, you begin to see yourself in ways you never have before, because it's through the eyes of the other people in the program who see your essence. They see who you really are, your beauty, your strength, your potential, way before you do. And so this profound shift in perspective is really the true gift of taking the time to give yourself this transformational journey that's going to change the trajectory of your life. So I am currently now enrolling for my 12th Mastering Your Mind program, right? Thousands of people have taken this program. So you're not just signing up for another self-help course. You're stepping into a journey that will fundamentally alter how your future unfolds, to break free from the cycles that have held you back. You have to develop a sense of curiosity about your inner world. That's the essence of mastering your mind. And that's what you do in the Mastering Your Mind program. You use the mind method, which is a journey that empowers you to dismantle the unconscious beliefs and patterns that have been silently shaping your entire life. And I want you to imagine the liberation that comes from shedding that weight. Imagine the clarity, the freedom, the joy that comes with truly understanding and transforming your inner narrative. This work is powerful and life-changing, and it is waiting for you. So if you would like to join this next cohort of the Mastering Your Mind program and give yourself the transformational gift of rewiring your mind and rewriting your future, now is the time. It starts in September of 2024. To find out the details, go to my website, dethrowingyourinnercritic.com, schedule a time to connect with me. And hey, if it's not for you, I will honor that, okay? Scheduling a time with me, this is not a sales call. I promise you. This is an opportunity to really explore for yourself what this program could do for you. And then you are empowered to fully make your own choice. And if it's a no, it's a no. I don't want people in the program unless they are a hell yes. So if you're on the cusp of thinking you might be a hell yes, just schedule some time to connect with me. I would love to talk to you. Thanks for tuning in today, everyone. Have a great day.